Welcome to Quarantine Junction, episode 76. I'm Mark.
I'm Luke.
I'm Jill.
Still doing the social distancing thing, so we're on the phone this time. Hopefully this works out. So let's get to it. On February 12th, 2020, the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs published a study titled LSD Overdoses, 3 Case Reports, that gathered interviews and health records of people who had accidentally ingested astronomically high levels of LSD. The case reports in question centered around a teenager who took 10 times the normal recreational dose, a 26-year-old who overdosed on LSD not knowing she was pregnant, and a 46-year-old woman who took a whopping 550 doses of pure LSD in powder form after having mistaken it for cocaine. The study concluded that in these cases, there appear to be unpredictable and positive results that, quote, ranged from improvements in mental illness symptoms to reduction in physical pain and morphine withdrawal symptoms. Also, an LSD overdose while in early pregnancy did not appear to cause harm to the fetus, end quote. Naturally, though, it's extremely ill-advised to purposefully overdose on LSD to elicit these results. Meanwhile, in January of 2020, the nonprofit Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies in the U.S. was granted application for an expanded access program for MDMA-assisted psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The purpose of the program is to investigate potentially beneficial therapies for people facing serious conditions for which currently available forms of therapy or treatment have proven ineffective. A similar study was completed in Vancouver in 2016, while many others remain ongoing. Along similar lines, in 2019, the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology, and Neuroscience at King's College London conducted research into administering regulated dose of psilocybin, the psychoactive ingredient in magic mushrooms, in a controlled environment with a trained therapist. The central aim of the study was to test the safety and therapeutic feasibility of psilocybin as a means of therapy, with therapist guiding each one-on-one session. What the clinical trial found was there were no serious adverse effects. All of these studies and trials would tend to indicate that there is indeed potential for the use of psychedelics as a means of therapy, and that researchers and scientists are taking that potential seriously. With the cities of Oakland and Denver in the U.S. decriminalizing magic mushrooms and other hallucinogens, and the state of Oregon poised to do the same, researchers find themselves at the threshold of making incredible breakthroughs in this domain. But social conservatives and advocates of the ill-fated war on drugs are still staunchly against full-out legalization, still clinging to the mass hysteria of the 1970s. So, is it time to embrace psychedelics in the same way some people have CBD? Is it time to finally admit scientists are onto something and do away with prohibition? Or do we heed the pearl clutcher's dire warnings about frying our brains on drugs? Let's talk about that, shall we?
Frying our brains on drugs. Frying our brains on drugs. Frying our brains on drugs.
Yeah.
That would make for a really great song, actually. I like the sound of that.
We could just sample that and put a beat over it.
That's right.
I'm going to say, though, that I'm all for in a sense, the destruction of rational thought, even just for moments, and then coming back to it, sort of thing. I think it can do wonders, but it doesn't necessarily.
Right.
I think that someone can get something out of it, but other people won't. It's sort of like hypnosis. It'll work on some people, it won't work on other people.
Well, the purpose of these studies wasn't to demonstrate that there is necessarily a benefit to psychedelics as a means of therapy. It's to provide an alternative for people who for whom regular therapy just wasn't effective, right? And they found in these cases that the psychedelic approach was beneficial in these cases. But like you said,
I think just like electroshock therapy will, in a sense, stop whatever thoughts you're having, and possibly, basically scramble your brain so you got to start over again. It could work for some people.
Right.
It's almost like it depends if it can destroy that rabbit hole that the person has jumped down in terms of psychosis and help them reformulate other rabbit holes to jump down.
Yeah.
Well, I heard when these psychedelics were first being discovered in the 50s, they were calling them minipsychotics or something like that, because as far as psychiatrists and psychologists were concerned, it looked like these drugs would induce somebody to have an experience similar to full-blown psychosis, where they're like hallucinating and.
Well, from what I understand, back then too, it was uber potent compared to whatever any of us have ever experienced, sort of thing. Like they were taking like hundreds of doses at the same time, kind of thing.
Right.
Like, right.
Equivalent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you first invent the drug, like how the hell are you supposed to know what's too much or what's too little, especially if it's the kind of drug that you can't really overdose on, you know?
Right.
That, and can you imagine not knowing what it's going to do, or then testing it and possibly maybe not even telling the person that they're on it, you know?
Well, the guy who
things are going crazy.
well, the researcher who first formulated LSD, like when he first took it, I remember hearing this story about him like on his like taking a bike ride and just admiring nature, like holy shit, what the hell is going on here, right? Like so he had no idea what to expect when he first created this thing, like you were saying, right?
No, he was working with it in the lab, and he could have dosed himself just by touching it, right? Like skin and stuff. And so he started tripping balls.
He just started tripping balls.
Yeah, and he asked
in the lab one day.
And so he had asked one of his like lab assistants or fellow researchers to take him home, and they didn't have a car, so they took a bike ride home.
Right. That was okay. Yeah, that's the story.
And now it's like a thing, I think, as well, like how weed smokers will celebrate 420. Acid trippers, or people who like to do it regularly, they celebrate 421 or something like that.
Right.
I think it's 421.
I think so.
Yeah.
So
April 21st is the acid trippers day, right? The day after the weed trippers.
So I've always been an advocate of just doing away with prohibition and making fucking everything legal, right? That's how the whole idea of prohibition it doesn't work. It's been proven to be ineffective. The war on drugs, like I said, it's this ill-fated concept that has its roots in the 1970s mass hysteria of like just the social conservative pearl clutchers. And there's been
I mean that's what happened with LSD and psychedelics too. In the 70s, they like the research they were doing on psychedelics in the 50s and 60s was like massive, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
And then they shut everything down in the 70s, and then that's why for the 70s and the 80s and much of the 90s, it was just completely taboo, and no researchers could even work with this stuff legally anymore.
Yeah. And now that we have these,
I guess some states were relaxing some of those rules and stuff, and researchers were once again able to get back into studying this stuff. So that's why we're just now starting to hear again about the therapeutic uses for depression and stuff like that, and post-traumatic stress and all this.
Right, and that's just it. Like all the scientific research that's been coming out recently just totally negates the idea that it's this evil kind of substance that'll totally destroy your brain if you take even one dose of it. You know, the whole concept or the whole basis for prohibition on psychedelics with this research is just thrown out the window. So like I said, I'm of the opinion that prohibition should just be flat out ended, and we should allow these scientists and researchers to explore their research more in depth, because there is a benefit to it. That's what we're starting to see. There's evidence that this is beneficial as a means of therapy, and that's worth pursuing.
Yeah. So
this has been Critical Junction, episode 76. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The idea of making drugs illegal that society and the authorities think that there's too much of a public cost from like people overdosing and people getting addicted and.
Well, if we're thinking of the 70s, was it not a response or sort of a fear of the hippie revolution at that time?
Very much so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And so that's where the fear of drugs basically stemmed from.
Yeah, the whole counterculture.
People who listen to good music?
That's right. Good music scared all the politicians at the time, so they started making rules.
Yeah, it was...
The movie started getting way too crazy, and they got scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the prohibition in the 70s was, like you said, in part a reaction to the whole counterculture revolution, right? For some reason, the status quo and the state just, they were terrified of it. I don't understand why, but what do you guys think is the root of that? Why do you think there was such a backlash against that kind of counterculture kind of uprising?
What do you mean, why? Because they want to retain control. And people were onto them, basically. The kids were onto politics. They were figuring shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Draft dodging was like rampant. So like this like when did they institute a draft in the U.S.? Was it just always there right up until the 70s?
I think so. Like I think it's always just it's been available. But it really came into play during that wartime era, right? Where no one was in favor of the war, so they're like, well, we need soldiers, so let's activate the draft clause.
Right. So when did Vietnam start? The Vietnam War.
Like in the early 60s.
Yeah.
And so,
the stuff started going down in the 50s, but then it's not until the 60s that the actual Vietnam War per se started.
Could we blame it on Nixon? Say that Nixon made the corruption of politicians too obvious?
I like blaming Nixon for anything, so yes.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I guess I'm wondering, was it like Jimmy Carter that ended the draft, or was the legislation to kill the draft instituted while Nixon was still in office?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know.
Why don't we give Jimmy a call?
No, well, Jimmy Carter, yeah, he's still around. He's still buzzing.
Still kicking.
He'd be willing. He's a nice guy.
I'm sure he'd take your call.
Let's see if we can get him on the show.
Yeah. Jimmy Carter, if you're listening and you'd like to sponsor
Sponsor us with some hand wipes, maybe.
Some hand wipes. That would be a little bit of maybe some toilet paper. That would be great. So yeah, I think we told a couple of our psychedelic stories in one of our most recent episodes, but maybe we should go over a couple more of them, just to keep on topic. So I think Luke, you're our resident psychedelics expert. So why don't you take us down the road?
Take you down memory lane with baby Jesus and the reindeer.
That sounds like a great story.
No, I've never taken drugs. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right. Well, I've been grossly misinformed.
Yeah, I've only done psychedelics once, and it was with mushrooms, and I think I had probably less than the normal dose of it. So I think I might have had just more of like a microdose experience.
Okay.
Because I didn't get like that whole ego dissolution feeling that some people get with on psychedelics.
Right.
Ah, yes.
Is ego dissolution something that is supposed to, or that happens every time you take something like mushrooms or LSD? Or is
Are you
it just
talking to me specifically, or?
And either of you?
You're aware. For myself, I would suggest it depends on the potency of it, sort of thing, and that can kind of come. There's a clarity that comes afterwards, in a sense, and so it allows you to retain both sort of a mix of your conscious thought and non-ego-ness, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I felt it was best with LSD, whereas mushrooms was more mushy sort of thing.
More mushy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, more inebriated, I guess you could say.
Oh, I see. More sloppy, I guess.
Yeah, sloppy.
Okay.
Okay, so like when you're drunk.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah, like I said during that previous episode, the only psychedelic I've ever done was salvia, and it was total ego dissolution. There was no I anymore. It was just
There's also no leading up to it either.
yeah, no, it's just bang. 1 minute you're
It's a shocker.
yeah, like you feel this kind of sideways pull, and then all of a sudden you're gone. And
Right.
it lasts for about 15 minutes, and then you just slowly there's like a moment where you just click. You're like, oh yeah, I just did a bunch of salvia, and then you're awake again. It was
Go ahead. I was going to say, it doesn't take very long. Like, it's maybe a 10-minute thing, I think, with the salvia. Is it not?
Wow.
yeah, it's like a 15-20 minute trip, and then it's over.
It's 15 minutes of eternity.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's all. It's just 15 eternal moments.
So would you want to like take several trips in a row?
Oh God, no.
Like take one 15-minute trip and then oh shit, it's
Yeah,
not.
no, you don't have
I
to.
immediately take some more and
I
you
wouldn't.
just-
Like personally, I wouldn't, because that's a terrifying concept. Because yeah, like I said, it's just the concept of I no longer exists when you're in that 15-minute kind of void, right? And just doing one trip after the other back to back, just I don't think that would be in any way pleasant, but that's just me. I mean, other people might be interested in doing that, but
what about that one trip? Did you find it pleasant yourself?
looking back on it, it was really interesting. But in the moment, I don't know.
Really interesting.
It was quite interesting.
Well, I would suggest you probably consolidate some new thing coming out of it every time you would do it, sort of thing. But it would take some time for a person to make something up. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. But
Yeah, like I had to.
I think.
I had to sit on the experience for a little while, but I wanted to capture as much of it as I could, so I wrote it all down in kind of like a prosaic kind of journal entry after the fact, because like I said, I wanted to capture as much detail as I could remember. Yeah, like it was a fascinating experience. I would probably do it again if it were available, but finding it these days is not really possible, considering it's now illegal in Canada. It has been since like...
Well, no, you could totally order it, I'm sure, online. You would just have to find a source, but I'm sure you could.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's the same with anything, right? And that's...
Yeah. What I mean is that I don't think its restrictions are that...
It's not like ordering Coke online.
Oh, right.
No. Like you could grow this in your backyard and no one would ever know, and just do it all yourself, sort of thing.
Because it's sage. It's in the sage family, so no one would ever know the difference.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a process to...
Like heroin is just poppies, right?
Yeah. Can you legally grow those here, though?
Poppies?
Poppies?
Yeah, and I think poppies might be even difficult to grow.
You might be able to grow them, but just not like farm them. I don't know. It would be interesting if that was actually a thing. Do you know if it's like legal, Ella, to grow poppies?
Consulting the expert in the background.
Okay. But how can poppy seeds be a common, easily obtainable thing, but not poppy flowers?
I'm gonna have to edit out that dead air there. That's funny.
Now we can hear some mumbling in the background.
Negative.
So what are some of the more memorable experiences you've had on let's say LSD, Luke?
For myself?
Yeah.
More memorable experiences. Huh.
Or do you have any?
Well, do they just kind of fade away? The memories
No, they don't. They don't fade away. They all sort of go into one, as if it's one. It's almost like a returning to the experience.
Oh, really?
I think that could be said, sort of thing.
Huh.
But I don't know. No, I don't really hold on to too many of the experiences. I mean, it was more so when I look back on it, I think more so in terms of the experiences with the friends. You know, when we would do it, we would hang out for like 12 hours straight together and go build a huge bonfire out where we weren't supposed to because we just didn't care at that time, and we never got caught, so it was good times in that sense, you know.
Nice.
But yeah, we would also, I'd say 12 hours, we would actually do it more so for 24 hours, like it was a full day thing. And we would generally end up in some other part of a small town in the country wearing way too much face makeup, and like I would always have white gloves and giant old lady glasses. You know, like the 80s.
That was like
so we looked
that
like
was like your trip in uniform.
yeah.
You can get into uniform anytime you.
But it would always end with that nice clarity, you know, where you're walking around and you're not thinking anything at all, sort of thing. The truth is, though, I can kind of experience these things without, like I'm able to go there, sort of mix the dream world with the real world. Maybe I'm a little closer to it than other people are, sort of thing. So I'm able to, you know, I guess I can say I'm able to hallucinate just in regular life.
What do you mean? Like, you're able to?
That's a plus. You don't actually have to take the stuff anymore to just feel.
That is correct. No, I mean,
tapped in.
Well, not always. I'm just saying it can happen, you know.
So that's your superpower?
Those famous flashbacks.
No. I would suggest it's more. No, it's usually set off by something. Like I would suggest that for myself, it can be triggered by something. But no, I wouldn't say it's a flashback because I can usually trace back what has triggered it. So, for example, in a lot of the same ways as PTSD, a violent thing. If I encounter a violent thing, it will, in a sense, put me back into it, and suddenly I can be dreaming into reality, sort of thing.
So why do you think it's a violent thing that triggers it?
I would suggest it's like a PTSD type thing, you know. Like I myself am set off by violence. Like I'm not an enjoyer of violence. Right. I'm sensitive to it, you know. So I don't know.
Well, unless it's in a good movie, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about real violence. So like a real. If someone were to be violent with me or something like that, or something very upsetting or something like that, you know.
Even though your taste in movies can be pretty gory. Actually,
yeah. Well, in art, it's true. In art, it's the exact opposite. I'm looking for violence and stuff like that, which is pretty strange, I suppose. Maybe I'm
probably because
it's myself.
Well, or you have like a natural kind of deficiency, like an iron deficiency or something.
I can't handle it in real life, so I've got to expose myself.
You got to get supplements.
Got to get my dose of violence in.
So a little Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like a multivitamin of violence.
That's funny. I like it.
A little bit of the old ultra-violence.
No, well, I would suggest that with age, I've learned to be able to control it a little bit better, and that the response to violence is actually a recent thing that started happening over the past few years, I'd suggest. But yeah, like
did you ever get into fights?
Fights?
Yeah, like in
But like a brawl?
I was playing Barbie with the girls, like it's absolutely not.
Okay, that's what I've always known.
Like I've honestly been able
that
to.
You specifically played with Barbies, but you've always been extremely chill.
Yeah, like
I don't know. I've managed to not even be exposed to them. Even I would suggest, like I can even feel them starting to develop, and then I get away from them, sort of thing.
Right.
So
I've barely ever even seen one.
Would you consider yourself a pacifist, Luke?
A
Yeah.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say I wouldn't want to hurt anyone by saying that. I'm worried that I might hurt, someone.
Okay, well, now you're just showing off.
I'm showing off.
That's just going too far.
Let me tell you, this is something to be, guys. This is something to be.
Just arrogantly pacifist.
I'm a better pacifist than you because I'm even worried about how violent claiming to be a pacifist can be.
You want humble? I'll show you humble.
I'm the most humble in the world.
So
Put
yeah.
that Trump on the air, everyone.
What?
That was not a Trump invitation.
No, that wasn't a Trump impersonation.
No, although my Trump impersonation is not much better. But I would have gotten more bad New York accent imitation rather than bad British accent imitation.
So, given the opportunity, Gilles, would you
Yes.
partake in the acid?
Yes, absolutely. Especially because I've been seeing stuff about use of psychedelics in therapeutic ways, and sort of I've been seeing stuff in media that's like legitimizing LSD and mushrooms, and it's I don't know. I've always been a little bit weary or leery of. Oh my God, that's a pun. Sorry, I promise I'm not tripping right now.
You did eat some chocolate, didn't you?
I did. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It has psychedelic properties.
Oh, okay.
Very mild psychedelic properties, but
Maybe it's
No,
maybe I'm just starting to feel it.
I would suggest by eating it, they're a little more solid. They can come out a little better.
well,
Yeah.
I would say the effects of THC are a little bit more pronounced when you eat it, but the psychedelic part of it, I haven't found that to be true.
No.
But that might just be me. I mean, everyone reacts to it differently, right? So.
Yeah. And I would suggest I was talking to myself with that one beer, the first time I ever drank.
Right. So yeah,
So you have no idea how this is supposed to be affecting you, and you just know that you feel weird and different.
Right, yeah.
You just kind of go in whatever direction.
something doesn't feel right, but okay.
Yeah.
So what would you be looking?
If you find yourself making like a comment to yourself under your breath, and then you're like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be talking to myself right now.
Well, I would suggest, for example, that if you were on a hallucinogenic drug, and then you did some marijuana when you were on it, it would multiply the
Right.
effects of the psychedelic.
Yeah,
Really bring them out.
I find marijuana has that kind of heightening effect for things like alcohol too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I guess it's just destroying brain cells. Even just that.
Right.
Makes everything more intense,
Right, which doesn't happen, right, with LSD and mushrooms. Like, it's not actually burning brain cells like smoking does, right?
Right.
But I'm wondering whether the smoking marijuana burn, like the idea of it burning brain cells is just because of the smoking part and less the marijuana part.
Right.
Could very well be. I don't know.
Because I think just depriving your brain of oxygen and stuff by inhaling, you're kind of doing little micro asphyxiations, right? When you're smoking combustibles.
Right.
Right. So you might as well be doing something like poppers, what is that?
Right.
Gas.
Yeah. What do they call that? They call it poppers?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
The
the.
actual.
Are you talking about the like the?
No, yeah.
Yeah, whippets, nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. Nitrous oxide.
Yeah. Where you take the can of whipped cream there and you just.
Right.
just makes you see stars. Like, I've tried it in dumber, younger days, and
Dumber younger
behind
days.
the dicks.
it was absurd. I don't really recommend it.
Good to know. So noted.
Yeah.
But modeling glue in a paper bag, boy, oh boy.
That or some gold spray paint behind a dumpster at McDonald's.
But yeah, like, you guys haven't heard about any kinds of long-term effects of LSD on the brain tissue, right?
I haven't, but, well, that's not true. I mean, I have, but the stories that I've heard were all those sensationalized kind of scare tactic stories, right? So I haven't heard anything legitimate in terms of long-term ill effects.
Like, the worst that I've heard coming out about LSD is that it can sort of serve as a catalyst for people who are already prone to psychosis or to like schizophrenia.
Like marijuana.
Yeah, they say the same about marijuana.
And they say the same about marijuana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, and maybe like bad trips where people claim that somebody jumped off a building because of the way they were tripping on LSD.
Sure.
Other than that, I haven't heard of any. Hold on.
I would like to suggest that the people that have died using hallucinogens may not have been actually bad tripping. They may have just mistaken the ability to fly, but they might have been having a hell of a time, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that people that, in my experience with people that bad trip, are just already bad tripping.
Right.
They went in bad tripping and they stayed bad tripping, and it was just more enhanced and a much more surreal world for them all of a sudden.
Yeah, like I've seen a bunch of videos of people bad tripping on salvia, and I can totally understand how that might happen. Like, there's this one video of like a guy and his girlfriend. They're both doing it they're both doing salvia on their couch, and there's this window behind them, and the guy just flips his shit and falls out of the window. It's just like,
Yeah.
but I can.
He crashes through the window right behind him.
Yeah, and I can totally understand how that might happen because it's such a fucked up experience. But
well, sure, I would suggest that you're kind of faced with your own consciousness.
Yeah.
You want your consciousness to be in good shape. Right?
Oh, for sure. Like you definitely want to be in a good place when
you. That's keeping you feeling safe, and you, in a sense, want to be in a good position mentally to be doing this kind of thing because it can be. I would suggest like psychically dangerous.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Yeah,
really?
you want to be in a good place before you do it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if something's going on in your life and it's not good, you don't want to be doing this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You want your brain to be in good shape.
Okay,
But doesn't that
how does that square with the use of psychedelics to actually treat like PTSD and depression and the fact of being in a bad place?
See, I think the answer to the answer to that is quantity. In these clinical research studies, they're giving them controlled doses of it. They're not giving them a full recreational dose. So they're doing the bare minimum to get some kind of effect, but they're not going for the whole full-on trip with it. But what we're talking about in terms of being in a good place when you're doing this is if you're taking the recreational dose and it launches you into that trip, you want to make sure that you're mentally prepared to face it. Otherwise, it'll start unlocking all this subconscious stuff that you might not be ready to confront. Whereas with a microdose,
I was seeing somebody. Go ahead.
No, that was. I'm just going to repeat what I was saying. So go ahead.
Okay, so I was seeing somebody talk about like a set of protocols, basically, for going into a trip, including something like intentionality. Like you have to set for yourself at the beginning, like your intention, what you want out of the trip, and like
just some
you
people
kind of
might
have to be. You have to be purposeful about it.
I'm going to suggest, Jill, you don't have to be. Maybe some people do.
Oh,
You're fine.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good to go.
What about me? Am I all right? Am I good to go? Or do I
Yeah,
need?
you're fine.
Okay, all right.
You have
Good.
to think about that. Okay.
Just want to make sure there.
But yeah, no, I'm actually at a place where I'm supremely curious to do it.
Mm-hmm. What would you be looking to get out of it?
Most of the people I know have actually experimented with it in the past, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest first and foremost, it's about finding stuff that is okay.
Right.
That in a sense, it's poisonous.
Right.
And
Yeah.
That's your biggest dilemma right there.
Like since the government prohibits it, you just can't get it from some place where they have to abide by the food
Yeah,
protection agency
there's no
stuff and like list their ingredients and all this kind of stuff.
there's no quality control mechanism in place.
For myself,
Yeah,
go ahead. In the past, I always had a tester friend, basically, like the friend basically eating the food first to see if it's poison. Okay, good, we're good to go. And then the next week we would make our plans.
So this friend of yours just didn't give a fuck.
Oh no, well he was like,
Yeah, I'll try.
I'll try it.
willing, so. He did take one for the team quite happily.
Yeah.
You had a poison tester. That's awesome. But yeah, I think
That's pretty funny.
I think I'm in the same, I guess, position as you are there, Joe. Like I would be supremely interested in trying it, but I never have, just because of I don't know people who would be able to point me in that direction.
Yeah. I don't have friends.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
I'm talking one.
that's why I'm taking this whole self-isolation thing pretty well. It's because I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I saw one of the memes that had gone by was about how well introverts are doing.
Yeah.
Self-isolation.
It's like heaven for the introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
now I have
won the long war.
The extroverts have had their time. But yeah,
Now you're the one who's wrong for trying to shake my hand. I'm wrong for not wanting to shake yours.
oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't consider
I'm glad
myself.
we don't have to shake hands anymore. Go ahead.
I don't consider myself an introvert. I just like staying home a lot, and I'm inherently lazy. So the fact that I don't have to do any kind of effort to do anything these days is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm a homebody too.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, if given the chance, and if I was given assurances,
You're often out and about. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm certainly not these days. That's for sure. I've been in for 2 weeks now straight.
yeah,
So this is a much bigger change of pace for you, though, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out stuff to do creatively here to keep things going. But
yeah. I guess that's one of the bonuses for creative types, right? Like I'm getting writing done. I'm getting all this shit done that I've been putting off for a while. But I'm also kind of dragging it out so that every day I still have something to do. The idea of cleaning the house has taken on a whole new meaning because I'm targeting one section per day, just because I need something to do because I joke around and say that I'm handling this well because I'm a homebody, but I'm also kind of gradually losing my mind.
wait, seriously?
Don't you go through phases though? Like
Yeah.
Like the Tuesday is bad, and then the rest of the week is fine, kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. It's like some days are fine. Like the weekends are typical weekends. I'm not doing anything, but during the week it's like fuck. I'm so bored. I don't know why, but I'm so damn bored. There's no.
I feel pretty lucky that I'm stuck in a house with 4 people. So
Oh really?
I'm quite
Okay.
entertained, Yeah.
I've got my
With
cat
what people?
and.
There's 4 of us here.
Oh, okay.
So would you
Me,
say
my mom, my niece, and Valerie?
would you say in these
okay.
would you say in these times of extreme self-isolation that this would be a prime opportunity to try some of those psychedelics, just to relieve the boredom?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, for sure. If you're in a good headspace, go for it. You've got all the time in the world. Get up your pen and paper and get ready.
But yeah, I
just
would...
recently watched...
Sorry?
I was going to say, I just recently watched the tail end of Fellini's LSD movie.
Okay.
Was that 8.5? Or...
No, it was the one I think he directed after that one. I can't remember what it's called, but it seems to be about his wife.
Okay.
And it's his first color movie. And it's pretty interesting. I liked it a lot. I've never... Fellini's one of the guys that I've not watched. I save some of the directors and I don't watch them, you know?
Yeah, right.
Until later in life. Like, it took me forever to watch Taxi Driver because I was just saving that movie, so I watched it late in age, you know?
Yeah, it took me
So I've never seen Fellini, or like Truffaut is another one of those kind of directors where you're like, okay, someday I'm gonna have to watch his movies.
Yeah, like it took me about 20 years to finally sit down and watch Shawshank Redemption. Like during high school, everyone's like, "You need to see Shawshank. You haven't seen it yet. What the hell?"
Well, did you know that it took the rest of the world some time to watch Shawshank Redemption as well, because it actually bombed at the theater.
Oh,
and
really?
It became a #1 movie while playing on TV later on in its life.
Oh yeah, really?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
And did you also know that the director was sold the scripts for that movie for $1? Because Stephen King lets first-time filmmakers do his scripts for $1.
Yep, that's true.
Shawshank is an example of that.
Yep. Yeah, Stephen King is well known for that. It's pretty awesome.
I suppose
that was Frank Darabont, who actually went on to do a whole bunch of stuff.
Of other Stephen King stuff.
He did do some other Stephen King stuff, didn't he?
Well, I'm going to suggest he's better rights at adapting.
The Mist, which is...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He did The Green Mile, I think it's him.
I think you're right.
That's Darabont, too? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about... Oh, yeah,
that was our best soundtrack ever, guys.
Yeah.
I thought The Green Mile was Spielberg or Ron Howard or one of those.
No. It's neither of those two. I'm not exactly sure if it's Darabont, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think so. I think it's yeah.
Yeah.
We can look it up later. IMDb, here we go.
Ron Howard, if you'd like to sponsor the show, you can direct your money towards us. I will gladly accept it.
If you'd like to, don't. Fuck you, Opie. Don't want no Opie's directing our shit and giving us money.
I like Opie's shit.
Fuck you, Richie. Richie Cunningham. You know what's funny about Happy Days is that the older brother just disappeared. He was just a boring character, so he just never appeared again after season 1. He was the one that liked basketball, and then that's it. He went off to school, and you never heard of him again.
So, yeah, they did something similar on Married with Children at one point, because they introduced that Seven character, that kid, and everybody hated this kid, so eventually they just stopped writing the part and never mentioned him again.
He just disappears.
Yeah.
Let's never talk of this again.
I suppose nothing beats Buffy, where suddenly, I think it's like season 6, she has a sister. How? Like, she just suddenly has a sister, and she's there. She's part of the show, in the credits, everything.
I seriously gotta go back and go and actually watch Buffy. That's one of those shows that everybody else watched, and I never saw a single episode of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I was like that with Game of Thrones, too, for the longest time. Everyone's just raving about it. I'm like, fuck you. And then eventually I caved and watched the whole damn series. So I think
That's surprising considering how much that show is kind of like up your alley.
I know, but like at first I hated it. Like the first episode, I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? And then eventually I got into it. Yeah, but I'm the same with Buffy. I haven't seen it yet. Everyone keeps raving about it. So I might have to sit down and finally do the same thing I did with Shawshank Redemption. 20 years later, finally watching Buffy.
20 years later. I'm just now getting around to watching The Wire.
See, that's another one. Okay,
one of the greatest shows ever. That's one of my, I'm going to say maybe top 5.
Oh, is it really?
This is...
my top 5.
I'm liking it a lot so far.
This is the most tangential...
I'm like halfway through the first season or something, or maybe close to the end of the first season.
This is the biggest tangent we've ever taken.
Every season is a completely different direction too, which is great about that show. It's
Oh,
great.
really?
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, like as soon as this season ends, you're on to something else with the next season. But there are some tie-ins kind of thing. Anyways, you'll see. You'll see. Okay.
So final thoughts on psychedelics now that we've gone completely off the rails.
Watch old TV shows on psychedelics.
I like it.
Well, so I'm summing it up to, I'm all for like I mentioned, the destruction of rational thought, even just for a few moments. It can be a hell of a time.
Yeah.
It can be educational,
To get out of your own way, like get out of your head, and
Yes.
and let yourself more humbly, like be part of the world or experience the things that are happening with them, rather than trying to control shit.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Are you trying to control us with your hello?
No.
Yeah. I guess as for myself, like I said earlier during the episode, I'm for the complete dismantling of the idea of prohibition whole cloth, especially when it comes to research into psychedelics and the therapeutic benefits thereof. I think there's a whole world of opportunity that's now presenting itself, and we should, or scientists and researchers should be given license to explore that avenue. Because, for some people, traditional therapy just isn't effective. And if microdosing with psychedelics can present them with another opportunity for alternatives, then definitely that's something that could be of huge benefit to a lot of people. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, and I would suggest this veil of fear is lifting sort of thing, and we are looking at a lot more people claiming to be mentally ill sort of thing. So yeah, it's probably something that will be explored further, I would think, in society.
You're optimistic.
And it's cheap.
Is it? Like, what is the typical, like, blood or...
That's part of the conspiracy, right, of why...
Of course, right.
Some people say about like why it's been prohibited for so long is that
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like
the
how?
pharmaceutical companies can't control it.
Oh right, yeah. But like,
can't make money off of it.
How much would a blotter of acid go for these days?
Well, that's the beauty of it. From what I understand, it has never changed prices.
Oh yeah, so
It's
like
always been $5.
$5?
Huh. Yeah, it's the cheapest.
Damn. I've been doing.
So there, you're looking for how good is that $5 and how many $5 you need to put together. So I would usually go like it's been $20. You're probably good to go. If it's good stuff.
Huh.
Be a hell of a trip.
Good to know.
Okay. Good to know.
Good to know. Just keep that in my back pocket for a while.
But the idea, of course, is to take one first and see what it does.
Well, yeah.
Right up from there.
So be responsible, kids.
Four. But I want to put it out there, though. No, do 4.
Be responsible, kids. That's the lesson.
Yeah, it's like telling someone to start with 7 brownies.
7 brownies. All right. Well, this has been productive, I think.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Sure.
Cool. Well, this has been critical.
Time.
But what?
How long was this one?
Oh, we're just wrapping up now at 49 minutes, so it's not bad.
Okay, it's good. We've made it.
We've made it.
We're good.
We've made it, kids. This has been Quarantine Junction, episode 76. I'm Mark.
Oh, I'm Luke.
I'm Joe.
As always, thanks for listening, and until next time, keep thinking critically.